MandoBug Crafts, episode 60. Hey, what's up? I'm MandoBug, but you can call me Amanda if you want. I would like to say hi and welcome to new viewers. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check me out for the first time. And of course, thank you to returning viewers. You guys are awesome. And I'm sorry I haven't seen you in a very long time. I haven't. I'm drinking some tea this late morning. It's almost afternoon. Out of my Eat Sleep Knit mug. I found this tea at the Kroger up the street from us. It's like papaya, mango, and it's a black tea, which is my absolute favorite. And I've just been drinking and drinking and drinking. This tea's almost gone. But yeah, sorry I've been absent, you guys. I have just had the craziest past few weeks for me. And I'll talk about that near the end of this episode. So why don't we just go ahead and start out the show with something I've learned, like I usually do. So, I learned 2 at a time socks. And here's what I have so far. So, 2 at a time socks, if you're not familiar, is when you knit 2 socks at the same time on the same pair of needles. You use the magic loop method, but you do 2 socks at a time. You can either knit from the inside and then the outside of a ball, or you can split your yarn up into 2 balls and knit from 2 separate balls, or you can be as fortunate as I am to have purchased a double knitted sock blank. So, if you've seen my previous episodes, I picked this up from Gail's Art at Maryland Sheep and Wool. It's a gorgeous double knitted sock blank with these blue stripes with love in the middle. And I've really been enjoying knitting from it. You just unravel as you knit, and you can see my strands are coming from 2 different places off the sock blank because I accidentally didn't start the toes at the same point in the sock blank, which kind of causes the yarn to snag on the edges when I unravel, but it's not a super big deal. I just wish I would have paid more attention to that when I started them. But I was more focusing on the fact that I'm knitting 2 socks at a time, and it took me kind of a little bit to wrap my mind around the idea. So if you're not familiar, you know, just in case, if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? You work half a sock. So like in my situation, I'm ready to knit the front of this sock, and then you go on to knit the front of the other sock. Then you magic loop, turn around, and you knit the back of that same sock, and then you move on to knit the back of the other sock, and then you turn around and you repeat. The scariest part is when you move from one sock to the next. You have to make sure you drop this sock's yarn and pick up this sock's yarn so that you don't accidentally knit your 2 socks together. I'm always super careful when I go between the 2 because I'm afraid I'm going to accidentally do that. Luckily I haven't yet, and you wouldn't get very far after doing it without realizing that you did it. So it's not like you'd have to rip back very far either. But I just did a crazy toe on this one. I wrote it down so that I would remember, because I'm still experimenting with toes. I haven't gotten around to trying the the fitted toes one yet. This one I just cast on 24 stitches, and I increased 4 stitches every other round until I got to 64 stitches. And surprisingly, with these size 0 needles and this yarn, my stitch gauge is really tight. These are very fitted socks. I've tried them on. They're not too tight, they're not uncomfortable, but they're more fitted than my other socks. And I'm thinking it's because as I'm knitting with this kinked looking yarn, I think I'm holding it really tight. Just out of habit, because I don't want it to affect my gauge too much. And you can see if I show the socks up really close, you can see a subtle change in between the stitches. It's not super smooth and even, but I'm sure it's nothing that won't block out. It's not a problem to me. I really have been enjoying knitting from this sock blank. And I decided to put an X and O cable up the sides of the socks. I've never knit plain vanilla socks, and it's mostly because I'm afraid that they're going to be too boring for me. But I also felt that it was appropriate for this sock blank since it says love, and it's a secret message, right? Because once that starts to become knitted, it's going to be variegated. And so it won't actually say love on the socks, but they'll have X's and O's, and I'll know that it at one point it said love, you know? But you can kind of see these stitches that I'm working on now, the variegation that's happening because of the point that I'm at in the sock blank. So there are these snowflakes that are stenciled on the turquoise, and they kind of bled over into the white too. There were some snowflakes in the white section that I've been knitting, and that's what's causing the variegation. So the snowflakes stencils will continue to variegate this turquoise as I move into the gray. These have been a lot of fun to work on, and they're really hard to put down because you just want to see what's going to happen next, you know? I want to make these pretty tall, but at the same time I know I still cannot knit the entire sock blank. So it's also nice to know that even though sock blanks are a little bit pricier, I'll get more than just a pair of socks out of these. But I feel like it's like a novelty thing to do, to knit from a sock blank, because it's not necessary, but it's really fun, and depending on the way the dyer dyed the sock blank, you can get some very unique socks. So, oh, but also I wanted to say I like the double knitted sock blank because my socks match. I've seen other people knit from single knitted sock blanks, and they'll knit socks, and they're, what do you call that, like fraternal twins, where you can tell they were the same colors but they don't match. And I mean, that can be fun, but some people don't like that. I like it to a certain extent. Sometimes they don't really look like they could match much at all. Like I said earlier, depending on the way the blank was dyed. But yeah. So moving on to works in progress. I really only have one project I'm working on right now, and that is the Mitered Window Pane Socks by Gladys Wee. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and one of my socks is inside out. That's because I was weaving in ends. So the way that I'm knitting these socks, there are a lot of yarn breaks, which means there's a lot of ends to weave in. And I've gotten to the point on both of the socks now where I want to put in short row heels. And so I was going to weave in my ends before I started the heels, so I had less ends to weave in later, but I guess I didn't finish. So here's one of the socks. Unlike the 2 at a time socks, I'm knitting these at the same time but on separate needles. So, and it's technically not at the same time. A lot of people refer to it as parallel knitting. It's where you knit a couple rows on one and then knit a couple rows on another. It's a great alternative to not knitting 2 at a time. It's really nice because you end up with a pair of socks at the end. Also, you don't have to make notes on what you did to the first sock so you remember when you get to the second. And also, you don't have to worry about your gauge changing at all. Because if it does change between the times you pick up and put down your socks, you've worked on both, so they both have that gauge change in them. But they generally look the same, even though I'm working one from the inside of the ball and one from the outside of the ball. I tried to do the mitered squares so that I got the same color repeats in them, so all the squares matched, but it was really difficult. I'm doing 15 stitch mitered squares on these, and I went up to 17 and it was too big, and you know, I went down to 13 and it was too small. 15 is the closest I could get to a color repeat in the skein, but it's still, maybe just the color repeats aren't consistent. But either way, I still think these are really fun looking socks, and I'm still enjoying the way that they're turning out. You can see my soles, just the plain knitting. But like I said earlier, I've changed the way I'm knitting them based on the pattern a little bit. The pattern's more of like a recipe explaining how she did it. So I kind of took that and ran with it. She did it top down, I'm doing it toe up, and I wanted my mitered squares to go all in the same direction. I followed the notes of a Ravelry user who already knit these socks. She was able to get the mitered square color repeats to all be the same, and her socks turned out amazing. That was my inspiration. I don't remember her Rav name, but I'll go ahead and put it at the bottom of the screen so you can check it out, and I'll link to it on my show notes, which if you're new, you can find the link to my show notes in the description of this YouTube video, or you can just go to mandobugcrafts.blogspot.com. So anyways, that's what's causing all the yarn breaks, is I'm knitting the mitered squares in one direction, and then I've been knitting up the back, and then I break, and then I start again, knit the mitered squares, pick up and knit short rows across the back. One thing I noticed is why in patterns they tell you to pick up 2 for every 3 stitches. Because really that's what you should be doing, otherwise you'll end up with too many stitches. I have been picking up exactly the number of rows that I was knitting when I went to knit the back. So it ended up being 7 rows, so I picked up 7 stitches, knit across, picked up 7 stitches, and I decreased doing short rows in the corners. Well, because of that, the sole of my foot is longer than the mitered squares in the front, because I didn't pick up 2 for every 3 stitches, I picked up every stitch. So it's not a big deal for these socks because I'm going to do my short row heel, and so it'll just give me a little bit more length with my heel. I don't think it will really affect the socks too much, and it's really not too many rows. Like, well, kind of. It's like maybe 5 or 6. It's like a ½ inch. But I really don't think it's going to affect the fit too much. We'll see. I have no idea. Well, I'll see after I put the heels in, but that's what I've been working on. So moving on to finished objects. You guys, look at my tank top! I finished my beekeeper's tank. This knit felt like it took forever. It kind of did. I started it in March and I finished it last week, I think. So, I mean, is that 3 months? March, April, May, June. Yeah, I mean, it took about 3 months. So, what can you expect though, right? Oh, I didn't mention, sorry, I was knitting these socks on US size zeros, Lorna's Laces shepherd sock in the Unicorn Parade colorway. I forget sometimes to say those things. But that reminds me, because I was going to say this tank top I knit out of Shibui Knits linen in the Cascade colorway on US size 2s, which is so tiny, tiny, tiny. So I have a lot to say about this tank top. So I'm going to go ahead and stand up and show it to you guys, and then I'll talk about my experience with the tank top. So here's the tank top. It's a bell-shaped tank top, so it's perfect for somebody like me that is still recovering from the baby weight. So it just hangs right off your top right there. And so for me, I knit the 36-inch bust, which is a little bit larger than what I was measuring, but I didn't want this tank top to be tight at all, especially because I didn't know when I was going to finish it, and I didn't know where I'd be in the baby weight loss section of, you know, losing the weight. So I wanted to go on the side of it fitting rather than it being too small. Also because, you know, I plan to have more children in the future, and I feel like this is a great tank top for when I'm at my target healthy weight, and then also as I get pregnant again or I'm losing weight after a baby again. So it really works for either way, whether you have the shape of your body that you want or you want to conceal a little bit of weight around your stomach. This bell shape is very helpful for that. Also, this linen that I knitted out of is very drapey. You can see that it just really flows. It's not stiff at all, and I really enjoyed that. And that's important because while I was knitting this tank top, I wasn't sure that I was gonna like it, and it was really scary. I really went out on a limb to knit this. I'd never worked with linen before. The linen was chained, it wasn't plied, so it's holier than what I was expecting, and the gauge is also holier than I expected, even though I went down to size 2s. And also, it was a little difficult to do the cables. This honeycombed cables right across the chest here was not easy to do with the linen. It kept snagging, and I was really frustrated. And as you can tell, it's more open than even the rest of the tank top. It's more see-through. I haven't noticed a problem as long as I wear a skin-colored bra. But if I was to wear like a white bra, it would definitely show through pretty prominently, and I'm not really a big fan of that. But I am happy with the fact that the stockinette doesn't really show through super bad. I didn't show you guys the back of the tank top, I don't think. It's mostly because it's weird to turn around when you're recording, but here's the back. So it's just plain stockinette with a little bit of a scoop neckline in the back, which at first when I knit it, I thought it was gonna be saggy, but it's really not. The tank top is a little wider than I'd like, but I think that has to do with the fact that I knit the 36-inch bust when it was gonna be a little big on me. But I believe the next size down was just gonna be way too small. The one thing I did change about the pattern is it called for an I-cord, an applied I-cord edge around the neck and the armpits and the armholes. But I started doing it. A, was way too slow for my liking, and B, it didn't look as clean as I wanted it to, and I think that has to do with the linen. It did not look good in an I-cord. So what I did instead is I took a really small crochet hook, I think like a 2.5 millimeter, and I just did a single crocheted edging around the neck and the armhole to finish it off, because the way that it's knit, you do need to finish it. It's not a smooth edge. So I did do that. I like the armpits. They could be maybe a little longer, but I think I knit the straps just a wee bit short because I thought I was going to be able to block it out longer. So that could be a fault on my part, but it's not like it's hiked up in there, you know what I mean? It's just a little higher than I'd like. The linen, although it's not the softest fabric, it's definitely not bothering me. I've been wearing it all morning, and I was really surprised that it does not irritate my skin at all. If you had sensitive skin, it may. But for me, this tank top, so I'm twisting around, it does not bother my skin at all. And it definitely feels better, the linen feels better knit up than it does in the skein. So, yeah, that's my comments on this tank top. I really enjoyed knitting it. It was a paid-for pattern, so get ready for that. And also the marathon stockinette knitting that is from the bust down. Because it's a bell-shaped tank top, there's a lot of stockinette knitting to do. And it's really, the other thing I'll say too, because this doesn't really give away the pattern, but the really cool thing about the bell shape is you don't actually have to do any decreases to get the shape. And I really enjoyed that. So all the stockinette knitting was just straight knit all the stitches for forever. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with this tank top. The color is just absolutely gorgeous. I really love this blue. It's out of my comfort zone generally on, like, in my wardrobe. My wardrobe is all gray, black, neutral tones, you know, like khaki and like olive green, and this stands out, but I really like it. I think I've always felt that blue makes my blue eyes pop, but I haven't always found blue clothes that I like to wear, but I really like this tank top. So, alright, moving on to check it out. So, I participated in a swap with the Odd Ducks of Ravelry swap group, and it was the Cryptozoology swap, and I was showing you guys last episode, which was like over a month ago, the octopus embroidery that I was working on. Well, I finished that and I sewed it into a bag, as well as knitted a little octopus, and then made some hand spun and put her package together and sent it off, but that was over a couple weeks ago. So I only have pictures of the purse that I made and the octopus, and so I'll go ahead and insert that here. But I received my package from my partner, and it is so awesome, I just have to share it with you guys. So I got a really cute drawstring bag that I can use for smaller projects like socks, and this really gorgeous braid of Shetland from Sunset Stitches. I think my swap partner did a good job of stocking me because these are like my favorite colors. She also sent a notebook with a Nessie on it. She also crocheted me the cutest little Nessie. Look at how cute he is. And she did such a good job with it, you guys. This is very, very well made. It's not always easy to make toys, and she did a great job. Like, the finishing is flawless on the stitching of the legs, and I like that he's stuffed nice and firm so his neck stays up as it does. But isn't that cute? And she also crocheted me, in my favorite colors, this gorgeous shawl. Look at that. Is this not the perfect fall shawl or what? Oh, I'm gonna love, 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 love wearing this come fall time because it's so pretty, and it's really cool too because it's airy, so it doesn't have to be confined to just the colder seasons. It would be great for the transition between seasons too. So I got really lucky. She also made me this Loch Ness Monster coffee mug. This says Believe, and sent me some coffee to go with it, as well as these little dark chocolate wafers. Yum! As well as this little Altoids tin that has stitch markers, some scissors, and a measuring tape, which is always good to have on you. A little stationery set, a washcloth, and it's really hard to see the design in the washcloth, but there appears to be a hidden Loch Ness Monster in there, which is perfect because, you know, there are witnesses who say they see him, but there is no proof. And she also sent me this gorgeous, gorgeous skein of sock yarn from Sunset Stitches as well, and I love these variegated blues. They're absolutely gorgeous. Oh, and the washcloth came with some soap and a little duck. So I got super lucky and was super spoiled by my swap partner, and I had a blast participating in this swap. I'm going to be signing up for another swap soon, probably. I don't know if I should because I'm going to be moving here in 4 months, which means I'm going to be doing a lot more prepping than I already am for my transition. So maybe I shouldn't, but it's favorite seasons, and y'all know how much I love fall, so I might just sign up for it. We'll see. I don't know, because I don't want to overcommit, but I mean, I would bust my butt to make sure I sent out a good package anyways. But so that's besides the point. Moving on to current events. So the double dip knit along ended like 2 weeks ago. Sorry guys. So I have giveaways. So before the podcast, I went ahead and used the random number generator to generate 3 random winners from the entries thread of the Double Dip Knit Along. So the prizes for this knit along are this skein of variegated pink and purple sock yarn. It is the Wool to Die For Platinum Sock Base. So I believe it's an 80-20 nylon. It might be 75-25. Superwash. 400 and change yards. This is the other skein that's up for grabs. And then also I'm throwing in a free, well, free to you, a Ravelry download of any pattern or ebook as long as it's less than $10. Or, well, actually I'll say $10 or less. So if you find an ebook, which is like a collection of patterns that's $10 or less, that's fine as well. Or if you just find a single shawl pattern that you're interested in, or socks, or whatever you want, it's your choice. So those are the 3 prizes. So I'm going to go ahead and read off the winners. The first winner was post number 42, and that was Cthulhu Loves Me, which I know she's won on the podcast before, so congratulations. This post specifically was the one where she shared her Cable Madness socks, and they had crazy cables. She knit them out of Knit Picks Strolls Brights, and they're like, and at least in the picture they look super bright red, like eye-searing bright red. The second winner was post number 48, which was Stitched Together, and she owns the Stitched Together podcast. Well, owns. She hosts. I guess it hosts and owns. But this post was for her Descent shawl that she knit out of Countess Ablaze, and it's super duper gorgeous. The Descent shawl, I love stripes, so I'm automatically drawn to that shawl, and hers is no exception. It's absolute gorgeous colors. I think she did a really good job. And the third winner is post number 68, and that was Rose Hip Chick, and her post had a Wee Bit Knitty Mystery socks in them. They were these cute little green socks that she knit up. So you 3, I'm going to do this a little different than usual. You guys contact me and let me know what your preference is for the prizes. Do you want the red sock yarn, the purple pink sock yarn, or do you want the free, or it's not, I keep saying free, it's not free, or do you want the gifted Ravelry download? That's the more appropriate term. But contact me, let me know your preferences, and whoever contacts me first will get their #1 preference, and so on and so forth. So we'll just go ahead and do it that way. Normally I contact you guys, but I want you kind of to have a say in what prize you get based on when you watched and when you contacted me. If nobody contacts me, or well, if some people don't contact me within, I'll say, at least 2 weeks to 4 weeks sometime, and that time, really it'll depend on when I record, but if I don't hear from you at least by 4 weeks, I will just redraw for the prizes that are left over, or I may carry them over into another giveaway depending on what happens. But I know you guys are awesome and you'll contact me, so I don't have to worry about that. So yeah, just send me a message on Ravelry. That's the best way to get a hold of me, and we will go from there. So also for current events, the Super Summer Spin Along has started. I just put up the threads today, which is super late. The Spin Along is being held from June 1st to August 31st. And it's a Super Summer Spin Along because you're trying to spin as much as you can this summer. So what that means for the Spin Along is that you get unlimited entries, just like the Double Dip Knit Along. The exception, well, it's not an exception, but the drawback to holding an along, in this case a spin along, like this is I don't want the same person to win all the prizes because they dominated the field. I'd like you to increase your chances of getting a prize, but that means if you get a prize, that you're done. You just get 1 prize. So 1 prize per person, but unlimited entries. There is no penalty for, like, if you started before the spin along. You just have to finish your yarn during the spin along. So if you had started something last month, shoot, a year ago, but it's not done, finish it up and enter it. Each entry must have at least 3 to 4 ounces to be counted as an entry. I don't want everyone breaking up their fiber into little 1 ounce bits and then trying to get more entries that way. I started with 3 ounces because some bats aren't quite to the full 4 ounces, and also 100 grams is less than 4 ounces. So 3 to 4 ounce is a good size. Now I know some of you have wheels like I do, where you can really only fit 2 ounces on a bobbin at a time. Just go ahead and enter your 2 2-ounce skeins together as an entry. So I think that's all I had to say about that. There will be fibery prizes. I'm not sure of the number yet, and I'm not even sure exactly what they will be, but I will get them as the spin along continues and share them off on the podcast with you as we go along. So for this spin along, I think I'm gonna add my finished spinning into the threads with you guys, and later when I do the drawings, if I draw myself, I will just not count that drawing. So what I've been spinning is this guy, and I pushed my wheel to the max to get this skein. So I have a Fancy Kitty drum carder, and in the Fancy Kitty group they've been holding competitions for like giveaways, and I won one of them. It was a giveaway where you go to their new website and you leave comments about, you know, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And then they just randomly drew a winner for a $25 gift certificate. And I was really excited because I'd never won anything yet on Ravelry. And I enter knit-alongs and stuff like here and there, but it was my first time actually winning. And so I used the coupon code to get the permanent brush attachment to my drum carder. So, but they're having another challenge. It's called the Gradient Challenge, and there's a good list of rules, but the idea is that you blend colors into a gradient and then you spin them up and then you knit a little bit to show the color changes. And I have until June 20th, so I really need to hurry up and finish because this is only half of my fiber. But I blended 50-50 merino and fin, and then I added just a little bit of Firestar to give it a subtle sparkle. It's really hard for the Firestar to show up because Firestar really does have a subtle sparkle, but the Firestar is nylon, so it also gives the yarn this really nice stretch to it. And I'll go ahead and open up the skein so you can see that the yarn goes from white to blue to this pink color. And this is all, like I said, this is only half of the fiber. The other half goes from pink to purple to black. So I need to finish that up. This skein, I was hoping to get like worsted weight, but that did not happen. This skein is 4.35 ounces and it's only 153 yards, which puts it at about an Aran weight. So it's definitely thicker than I was hoping. And I didn't count it until this morning, and I've already started spinning the second half at a thinner weight. So I need to start thickening it up so these match. But I chain plied this yarn because I wanted to keep the color sequence intact, and I'm glad I did. And I really like the merino mixed with the fin. The fin's not so soft on its own, but the merino really pulls that softness out, and also the fin is grabbier, so it makes the merino not as slick. It was a dream to spin. The blend of these two fibers was absolutely amazing. I mean, it was also a bat preparation, so there's that. I always prefer to spin bat over comb top or even Rolags. So, and then I also finished 2.1 ounces of my superwash merino braid from Penguin Soup in the Sakura colorway, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I was going for a sport weight, but it's more like a sport DK. Did I say how many yards? It's 118. So the yarn, I chain plied it, and the fiber was dyed in like a striping manner, so I expected this to turn out much more striping, but there was white in between the colors, and instead of the white constantly being white yarn, it blended into the nearby colors, so you kind of get this gradient effect of like white to light pink to like magenta pink to light pink to kind of white to like light brown, like it's like a light red brown. So it blends into the concentration of the color. So I think this is going to be really pretty when it's knit up. I think in this skein like this is not doing it justice. But yeah, that's all I have for current events. So moving on to Let's Chat. So I haven't talked to you guys in a really long time, but it's for a good reason. I have been working out like crazy. I have to take my fitness test for work the end of this month, and I did like a mock test and I failed at the beginning of this month. So I like that automatically put like dark cloud over my head, and I was like Eeyore for a week, and I was like, it's not possible. I've been working so hard. Why am I not passing? And then by the end of the week, I was like, snap out of it. You know what I mean? You don't got time for this. So I have been dieting within reason since I am still breastfeeding Emily and will be for a while. I don't want to lose my production. But like weight loss really helps when a lot of when you have to do like body weight physical exercises like sit-ups and push-ups. The less you weigh, the easier it is to push yourself up, right? It's common sense. So, and also a waist tape is part of my test. Not that I was failing that. I failed the sit-ups, but it's just nice for that. So I've been dieting, I've been exercising, I've been doing sit-ups like crazy. Okay, my camera did die. But I think I was talking about, oh yeah, how I don't expect to get a lot of crafting done in this near future. I'm gonna try, because I still want to finish all the Eat, Sleep, Knit, Knit-alongs by the end of the year, and I'm still on track to do that, but they're really not, it's not a priority. Like I said, crafting for me is a very fun hobby that I thoroughly enjoy, but with these big life transitions for me going on right now, you know, I have to reprioritize everything, and it's not like it's gonna last forever. I'm not gonna be planning to move and moving forever. It's just these next couple of months, that's what I've really been focusing on, is the transition. Change can be scary. I'm excited because we've known this is coming for so long. We've been planning, and you know, plans change as you get closer to the actual time they're supposed to happen, and we're starting to, you know, refine what we want to do, how we're going to do it, and you know, a lot of the times you're like, can I find a job? Am I going to make enough money to live where I want to live? And as we're researching into those things, now that it's getting closer, it's starting to look like everything's going to be just the way we wanted it to, which is really exciting. So really for me now, the change is just makes you a little anxious, you know? Not that I'm scared, but change is always exciting and makes you a little nervous, and so that's kind of where I am. I'm going to try to record again in 2 weeks, but it might not be 3 or 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to warn you guys about that now. My recording may continue to be inconsistent just because I have a lot of other things going on in my life and some other focuses I need to wrap up, and it kind of takes away from crafting, which also takes away from podcasting. So, but I will try to stick around, and even if I'm gone for like a month or 2, I will come back. So, so yeah, I'm worried about how this is going to affect the spin along, because I know it's more fun to participate when I record weekly or bi-weekly, or is that I always get confused if is twice a week bi-weekly or is every other week bi-weekly. I don't know. I mean every 2 weeks. I know it's a lot more fun if I record more often to talk about the spin along, but well, that, and it also depends on my activity on Ravelry as well as other people's, so, and I've been kind of not very active on Ravelry. If you've seen my Ravelry boards lately, they were out of date. I updated them this morning. So, yeah. End rant. Well, it's not really a rant. It's more like babbling. But yeah, so until I see you guys next time, I hope you crafted something awesome and made great progress during this episode, and I hope you continue to do so until I see you again. Happy crafting! Bye!